After finishing the side seams and pressing them towards the back, our next step is to pin together the corners. And I know this is going to look kind of funny, but this is one of the easiest ways to do box corners. So what you want to do is match up the side seam and the bottom seam, and match that up so that they're sitting right on top of one another. And sometimes I even take a pin and stick it through the stitching here and go through the other side and make sure they're right on top of one another, and then I'll put a pin right there. The other thing that you want to make sure is one of them is going that way and one of them is going this way. And it really doesn't matter which one, because they're going to look different on each side. But you want the bottom seam going towards the front of the bag. That's the part that has a pocket. And you want the side seam to go towards the back of the bag. So I've pinned that, and then I want to make sure that these corners line up as well. I want the sides, or the bottom corner here, to be stacked right on top of each other, just like that. And I'm only going to put a couple of pins in at this point. I might put a couple more in later, but for right now I'm only putting in 3. You'll notice I have a seam gauge and I have a pencil because I'm going to use that to mark my seam line. And normally on this sort of distance I wouldn't do that, but these corners are kind of funny and I want to make sure that I don't like curve it at the corner. I want it to be straight. So I'm going to take my seam gauge set at 1/2 inch because we're going to have a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I want that to lay flat. And I'm going to put it right near the end, not off the end, but right near the end, and hold that in place. And then I'm going to take my pencil and mark my 1/2 inch there. And then I'm going to go ahead and put a pin close to that edge so it doesn't wiggle around. I'm going to do the same in the middle. So where the center seam is, I'm going to line up the slider with the edge of the fabric, and then I'm going to put a little mark right there. And then on this end over here, I'm going to make the 3rd mark. And it doesn't have to go all the way to the edge, but you need to know that you can line it up there pretty easily. And again, I'm going to put one more pin right at the very end, and I'm going to move this one to the middle. So I actually have 5 pins on this. Now, if you're worried that you're not going to be able to stitch that accurately, you could take a longer ruler. This one's not quite long enough, but you could take a longer ruler and draw that line all the way. I think I'm going to be okay with just those 3 marks to hit as I'm making across my seam. You want to do the exact same thing to the other side, and then you're ready to sew this.